one message, one insult, one person's opinion can control your entire day, not because they are powerful, but because you handed them your attention. What if the greatest advantage in life is not learning how to control people, but learning how to stop letting people control you? Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll understand how mentally strong people become emotionally untouchable, not through manipulation, but through discipline, self-control, and unshakable focus. Before we begin, answer this honestly in the comments. Has someone ever occupied your mind long after they left the room? Type yes if you've experienced it. The greatest mistake most people make is believing they must respond to everything, every criticism, every opinion, every message, every act of disrespect. They feel responsible for correcting everyone, explaining everything, defending every decision. But every response has a price. The price is your attention, and attention is your most valuable resource. The moment someone can constantly pull your attention away from your goals, they begin controlling your direction. Mentally strong people understand something different. Silence is not weakness. Selective attention is not arrogance. It is discipline. They ask one simple question before giving someone their energy. Does this deserve my attention? If the answer is no, they move on without guilt, not because they hate the other person, because they value their own peace. They observe more than they react. They listen more than they argue. They allow people's consistent actions, not emotional words, to reveal their true character. If this message is helping you build stronger emotional discipline, take a moment to like this video and subscribe. It helps more people develop confidence, resilience, and self-control. And you'll never miss future lessons like this. Never reward manipulative behavior with unlimited attention. Some people provoke, some criticize, some create drama, not because they want solutions, but because they want reactions. The moment you stop rewarding unnecessary conflict with your attention, its influence over you begins to disappear. The strongest people also build a purpose that is greater than distraction. When your days are filled with meaningful work, constant learning, discipline, and clear direction, small insults lose their power. Petty arguments lose their importance. Your mission becomes louder than the noise around you. That does not mean you become cold. It means you become intentional. You choose your battles carefully. You protect your energy. You invest your time where it creates growth instead of conflict. And when a relationship repeatedly destroys your peace, you leave with dignity, no dramatic exit, no endless explanations, no desperate attempts to change someone who refuses to change, just quiet confidence. Remember this: the strongest mind is not the one that defeats every opponent. It is the one that refuses to be distracted by battles that never deserved its attention. If this message changed your perspective, share it with someone who needs this reminder today. And always remember, real power is not making other people feel invisible. Real power is becoming so focused, disciplined, and emotionally independent that unnecessary people and unnecessary drama no longer have the ability to disturb your peace. Emotional detachment is often misunderstood as becoming cold, distant, or refusing to care about other people. In reality, healthy emotional detachment is the ability to choose where your emotional energy belongs instead of allowing every situation or person to control your state of mind. It is not about suppressing emotions or pretending that criticism, rejection, or disappointment never affects you. Those emotions are a natural part of being human. True emotional strength comes from acknowledging those feelings without allowing them to dictate your actions. This distinction separates emotionally disciplined individuals from those who react impulsively to every challenge they encounter. Many people unknowingly surrender their peace because they respond to everything. Every negative comment demands an explanation. Every disagreement becomes an argument. Every criticism feels like a personal attack. As a result, their emotional state is constantly determined by outside circumstances rather than inner stability. Emotionally detached people understand that attention is limited. They carefully decide which situations deserve a response and which should simply be observed and released. This selective attention allows them to preserve their energy for relationships, responsibilities, and goals that genuinely matter. Emotional suppression, however, produces a very different outcome. Suppressing emotions means refusing to acknowledge them, pretending they do not exist, or burying them beneath distractions. Although this may appear strong on the surface, ignored emotions often return later through stress, frustration, resentment, or unhealthy behavior. Emotional detachment does not deny your feelings. Instead, it creates space between the feeling and your response. You recognize what you are experiencing, reflect on it calmly, and then choose an action based on wisdom rather than impulse. This practice also protects you from manipulation. Some people intentionally provoke emotional reactions because they know that anger, insecurity, or guilt can influence your decisions. When you remain emotionally grounded, those attempts lose much of their effectiveness. You become difficult to distract because your actions are no longer controlled by another person's words or behavior. Instead of reacting immediately, you evaluate whether the situation deserves your time and whether responding supports your long-term values. Over time, emotional detachment becomes a quiet source of confidence. You stop feeling responsible for correcting every misunderstanding or winning every disagreement. Your peace no longer depends on changing another person's opinion because your stability comes from within. You learn that strength is not measured by how intensely you react, but by how wisely you choose your responses. This mindset allows you to remain calm in difficult situations, protect your emotional energy, and focus your attention on the people, goals, and experiences that truly deserve a place in your life. Your attention is one of the most valuable resources you possess because every person, conversation, and responsibility competes for it. Unlike money, lost attention can never be recovered because it is exchanged for time, and time continues moving forward whether you use it wisely or not. This is why protecting your attention with intentional boundaries is essential for building a calm, focused, and emotionally strong life. Without boundaries, other people's demands, opinions, and expectations can gradually consume your energy, leaving little room for your own goals, personal growth, and inner peace. Many people believe they must always be available, respond immediately to every message, accept every invitation, or solve every problem placed before them. They fear that saying no will disappoint others or damage relationships. While generosity and kindness are important qualities, constantly sacrificing your own priorities creates emotional exhaustion. Every unnecessary commitment takes time away from something meaningful. When you say yes to everything, you often end up saying no to your own health, family, ambitions, and peace of mind. Strong boundaries help you recognize that protecting your time is not selfish. It is a responsibility. Intentional boundaries also teach people how to treat you. If you constantly interrupt your work to answer every message, tolerate repeated disrespect, or allow others to dictate your schedule, they begin expecting unlimited access to your attention. Most people simply respond to the standards you consistently demonstrate. When you politely but firmly protect your time, delay unnecessary conversations, or decline requests that do not align with your priorities, you communicate that your attention has value. This encourages healthier, more respectful relationships built on mutual understanding rather than constant obligation. Protecting your attention does not require becoming distant or uncaring. It means making conscious decisions about where your energy will have the greatest positive impact. You remain fully present with the people who genuinely matter, give your best effort to meaningful work, and invest in habits that strengthen your mind and character. At the same time, you stop allowing unnecessary drama, endless arguments, or manipulative behavior to consume your focus. You understand that every moment spent feeding distractions is a moment taken away from building the life you truly want. As you become more intentional with your attention, you begin experiencing greater clarity and emotional stability. Small interruptions lose their power to control your day, unnecessary opinions become easier to ignore, and your priorities become more defined. Instead of reacting to every external demand, you direct your energy toward what aligns with your values and purpose. Over time, these boundaries create a life where your peace is protected, your relationships become healthier, and your attention serves your future instead of being scattered by every distraction that seeks to claim it. One of the greatest advantages you can develop in dealing with people is the habit of responding less and observing more. Most individuals reveal far more through their actions, patterns, and reactions than they ever do through their words. Yet many people become so eager to speak, defend themselves, or express their opinions that they miss the valuable information unfolding right in front of them. Emotionally disciplined people understand that observation is a source of knowledge, while impulsive reactions often create confusion. By slowing down and paying attention, they gain a clearer understanding of people's intentions, priorities, and character before deciding how to respond. Observation requires patience because first impressions can be misleading. A person may appear kind during one conversation, but consistently behave selfishly over time. Another may seem distant at first, yet later prove to be loyal and dependable. Rather than judging someone based on a single interaction, wise individuals look for repeated patterns. They notice whether a person's actions match their promises, whether they treat others with respect when no reward is involved, and whether they remain consistent under pressure. Patterns are far more reliable than isolated moments because they reveal habits rather than temporary emotions. Responding less also protects you from unnecessary conflict. Many arguments begin because people react immediately to words without understanding the intention behind them. A rushed response often leads to misunderstandings, emotional decisions, and unnecessary regret. Taking a moment to observe allows you to ask better questions, gather more information, and choose a response that reflects wisdom rather than impulse. Sometimes you discover that no response is needed at all because the situation resolves itself without your involvement. Yet observation also gives you emotional control. When you constantly feel the need to explain yourself, defend every opinion, or answer every criticism, you allow other people to dictate your emotional state. By observing first, you remain in control of your attention. You become less reactive because your focus shifts from proving yourself to understanding the situation clearly. This calm approach often prevents manipulation because people who seek emotional reactions lose much of their influence when they receive thoughtful silence instead of immediate resistance. Over time, the habit of observing more than you react sharpens your judgment and strengthens your relationships. You become better at recognizing honesty, identifying manipulation, and understanding people's true motivations without relying solely on what they say. Your decisions become more thoughtful because they are based on evidence instead of assumptions. This quiet discipline creates confidence, allowing you to move through life with greater awareness, stronger emotional stability, and the wisdom to reserve your words for moments when they genuinely add value, rather than simply satisfy the urge to react. One of the most effective ways to protect your peace is to stop rewarding manipulative behavior with your attention. Manipulation often depends on predictable emotional reactions. Some people use guilt, criticism, silent treatment, excessive drama, or constant negativity because they know these behaviors attract attention and influence decisions. Whether they realize it or not, they learn that these tactics work when others immediately respond, apologize unnecessarily, abandon their own priorities, or become emotionally unsettled. Every repeated reaction strengthens the pattern because attention becomes the reward that keeps the behavior alive. Many people fall into this cycle because they genuinely want harmony. They believe that if they explain themselves one more time, defend every misunderstanding, or constantly give in to unreasonable demands, the conflict will disappear. Unfortunately, manipulative patterns rarely end through endless accommodation. Instead, they often grow stronger because the other person learns that emotional pressure is an effective way to achieve their goals. This creates relationships where one person's peace depends entirely on satisfying another person's changing expectations. Breaking this pattern begins with recognizing the difference between healthy communication and emotional manipulation. Healthy communication encourages honest discussion, mutual respect, and shared responsibility for solving problems. Manipulative behavior, however, often relies on creating guilt, fear, obligation, or confusion to gain control over another person's decisions. Instead of focusing on finding solutions, it seeks emotional influence. Understanding this distinction allows you to respond thoughtfully instead of automatically reacting to emotional pressure. Choosing not to reward manipulation does not mean becoming cold, rude, or indifferent. It means refusing to encourage unhealthy behavior by constantly feeding it with your attention. Sometimes the healthiest response is remaining calm, setting a clear boundary, or delaying your reaction until emotions have settled. In other situations, it may mean ending a conversation that has become disrespectful or limiting contact with someone who repeatedly ignores your boundaries. These responses communicate that respect, honesty, and maturity are the only foundations on which healthy relationships can grow. As you stop rewarding manipulative behavior, something important begins to change. You reclaim control over your emotional energy because your decisions are no longer driven by guilt or pressure. Instead of reacting to every attempt to disturb your peace, you choose responses that align with your values and long-term well-being. This strengthens your confidence because you realize that your emotional state belongs to you, not to the people attempting to influence it. Over time, manipulative individuals lose much of their power because they no longer receive the reactions they once depended on, while your relationships become healthier, more balanced, and built on mutual respect rather than emotional control. A clear purpose is one of the greatest sources of mental strength because it gives your attention a direction. People who lack purpose are often pulled in every direction by distractions, unnecessary conflicts, and the opinions of others. They spend valuable time worrying about criticism, seeking approval, or becoming emotionally involved in situations that contribute nothing to their growth. Without a meaningful goal, every interruption feels important because there is no larger mission demanding their focus. In contrast, individuals who have a strong sense of purpose naturally become more selective with their time and energy because they understand that every distraction carries an opportunity cost. Purpose does not have to be something extraordinary or publicly recognized. It can be building a successful career, creating a business, mastering a skill, supporting a family, improving your health, serving your community, or becoming the best version of yourself. What matters is that your purpose reflects your values and gives your daily actions meaning. When you wake up with a clear direction, your decisions become easier because you begin asking whether each activity moves you closer to or further away from your goals. A focused mind also becomes less vulnerable to emotional distractions. Criticism loses much of its influence because your attention is invested in progress rather than proving yourself to others. Negative comments may still be heard, but they no longer determine your mood or interrupt your momentum. Likewise, unnecessary arguments become less appealing because you recognize that every minute spent defending yourself is a minute not invested in building the future you want. Purpose teaches you to value progress over pointless conflict. This mindset also improves your ability to ignore people who seek attention through drama or manipulation. Instead of becoming emotionally involved in every disagreement, you begin asking whether responding serves your mission. If the answer is no, you move forward without resentment because your focus remains fixed on something more important. Your purpose becomes a filter that helps you decide where your attention belongs and where it should not be wasted. As you continue strengthening your purpose, distractions gradually lose their ability to control you. You become more disciplined because your actions are guided by commitment rather than temporary emotion. Your confidence grows because every day spent pursuing meaningful goals reinforces your belief in your own abilities. Rather than allowing outside noise to determine your direction, you remain anchored to your values, your vision, and your long-term objectives. This steady focus creates emotional resilience, allowing you to protect your peace, ignore unnecessary distractions, and continue moving toward a life defined by purpose instead of constantly reacting to whatever demands your attention. Walking away with confidence instead of resentment is one of the clearest signs of emotional maturity because it shows that your peace is more valuable than your pride. Many people believe that every ending must include an argument, an explanation, or an attempt to make the other person regret their actions. They hold on to anger, replay painful memories, and constantly imagine ways to prove themselves right. Although these thoughts may feel justified in the moment, they often keep a person emotionally attached to the very situation they are trying to leave behind. Resentment creates an invisible connection that continues draining your energy long after the relationship or conflict has ended. Confidence offers a different path. Confident people understand that they cannot control another person's choices, opinions, or behavior. They recognize that some individuals will never appreciate their value, respect their boundaries, or admit their mistakes. Instead of wasting years trying to change what cannot be changed, they accept reality and move forward with dignity. This does not mean pretending the experience never hurt or acting as though disappointment does not exist. It means refusing to allow those experiences to define the direction of your future. Walking away also requires letting go of the need for the final word. Many conflicts continue because both sides want to win the argument or receive validation. Emotionally independent people understand that not every misunderstanding can be resolved, and not every person is willing to listen with an open mind. Rather than chasing closure through endless conversations, they create closure through their own decisions. They accept what happened, learn from it, and continue investing their energy in people and opportunities that support their growth. Choosing confidence over resentment also protects your emotional health. Anger and bitterness demand constant attention because they keep your mind focused on past events that cannot be changed. Confidence redirects that same energy toward learning new skills, strengthening relationships, improving your character, and pursuing meaningful goals. Instead of allowing disappointment to become your identity, you transform it into motivation for personal growth. Every step forward weakens the influence of the past and strengthens your belief in your own resilience. As this mindset becomes part of your character, you stop measuring your success by whether someone regrets losing you or finally recognizes your worth. Your satisfaction comes from knowing that you acted with integrity and protected your peace. You understand that emotional independence is not achieved by defeating other people, but by refusing to let them occupy your thoughts long after they have chosen a different path. Walking away with quiet confidence allows you to preserve your dignity, reclaim your attention, and continue building a life that is guided by purpose rather than by resentment.